there's something that you need to know about this Rams team that makes them special. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Now the #1 sports podcast network, your team every day. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. I've covered LA sports for over a decade. 24/7 Sports, Bleacher Report, SI, Dodgers Nation, the LA Sports Report as well. I also do NFL radio for Westwood One. Flying solo on this one, the People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers. We'll be back tomorrow. But on today's episode, the Rams blow out the 49ers in San Francisco. They get sweet, sweet revenge against their rivals, and we are going to break it all down. We'll tell you what makes this Rams team different. But first, today's episode of Locked On Rams brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. All right, let's get into it. This is a game that we circled on our calendars before the season, and then we put an extra circle on it as the season began because, you know, it's always going to be a competitive game when it's the San Francisco 49ers going up against the Los Angeles Rams. But after the Rams lost to San Francisco in Week 5 against a lot of backups and Mac Jones, and you had a lot of self-inflicted wounds like the Kyrie Williams fumble, this game just meant more because this is a Rams team that was very frustrated. There was screaming in disappointment after they lost to San Francisco back in Week 5. Well, they didn't just make up for it. They absolutely boat raced the 49ers, winning by a final score of 42-26. And what makes this Rams team different, and one of the many things you need to know about this Rams team, quite frankly, is if you've been following this team closely for the last few seasons, even before that at times, things just don't tend to come that easy for the Rams. Things are difficult. You squeak by, you win games by less than double digits, and you feel happy about those wins, but rarely do wins come easy. And every win in the National Football League is hard, even if you do blow out an opponent. But up in San Francisco, and you look, yes, Fred Warner's out, Nick Bosa's out, Brock Purdy's out, Ayuk. There's a lot of guys missing in that 49ers lineup. There's no doubt about it. But today, the Rams, they started this game and they were in complete control early. And the first big takeaway is this Rams team has completely changed their offense because of 13 personnel and a lot of the issues that have really made you wonder if this team could win a Super Bowl, and that issue being scoring early in games and opening things up as far as big leads. Well, they're showing now that they can do that because this is a Rams team. They jumped out to a 21-0 lead after touchdowns on their first 3 drives. Now, the 49ers did stick around. They scored 14 straight points to make it a one-possession game after halftime. They did find a rhythm with Mac Jones. And on the night, look, Mac Jones, he goes 33 for 39 for 319 yards, 3 touchdowns, and interception, and a QB rating of 115.7. You look at that and you say, wait a minute, did the defense hold up to their end of the bargain? I think that was a concerted effort. Yes, you wanted to see more pressure from guys like Byron Young and Jared Verse, who didn't have a sack, but also on the interception that sealed the deal from Emmanuel Forbes, Braden Fisk and Tyler Davis collapsed the pocket to force that throw. So they did get pressure at the most important part of the game, the end of the game. But the great thing about this is that even with the San Francisco 49ers making that inevitable run that you expected, every time in the second half and towards the end of that first half that the 49ers tried to throw a haymaker and they landed some, the Rams got off the mat and they landed one back. Every time when there was a punch, the Rams punched back. And they were exchanging punches, but the Rams answered every single time. The Rams answered in this one. And that's another thing you need to know about this team is they can play teams and know that, yes, this is the NFL and every team makes a run, but this Rams team, they have the ability to not get overly confident with leads and not get scared and panic when a team starts to score some points and get in the end zone. And every time the 49ers got close today, every time it felt like they were going to make a game out of this one, tie it up, take the lead, whatever it may be, the Rams would score. And the Rams end up scoring 34-plus points for the third straight games. They found the end zone 6 times with 4 of those touchdowns coming from Matthew Stafford. And 4 of those touchdowns to all different receivers. I mean, look at the scoring. The scoring in this one. Kyren, 2-yard run to make it a 7-0 game with 10-14 in the first. Second touchdown to make it a 14-0 game was a 22-yard catch from Matthew Stafford to Puka Nacua at 5:34 in the first. And then 13:41 in the second quarter, Davis Allen, a 4-yard touchdown, the back of the end zone. Matthew Stafford's 400th of his career. He's the 9th guy on that 400 touchdown list, a very exclusive club. And then the 49ers, they fight back. They make it a 27 game after a Juwan Jennings 6-yard touchdown with 3:15 to go in the second quarter. And then Robinson, a 1-yard run with 9:33 in the third quarter, make it a 21-14 game. But this is when the Rams started to answer. Third quarter, 2:39 left. Devontae Adams, a 2-yard pass from Matthew Stafford. And we're going to get more into that 13 personnel, but you saw right there that they have a decision to make on defense. If they're in 13 personnel, you're going to see teams stay in their base defense, which limits their playbook. And if you give Devontae Adams one-on-one coverage in the red zone, that's a tutty. You bet on our guy. Tay's going to get the TD. If you double him, okay, Kyren runs it in. Corum can get a run. Throw it to a tight end. Throw it to Puka Nacua. Puka jet sweep. There's so many options. That made it a 28-14 game. And then Farrell, with 12:29 in the fourth quarter, he scores to make it a 28-20 game because they blocked the extra point. And then what happens? The Rams, they bounce back once again. Kyren Williams, 7-yard TD run. And then the knockout blow was the Colby Parkinson 16-yard catch with 5:10 to go in the fourth quarter. And then they got a garbage time touchdown with George Kittle, who was a killer against the Rams today, but still, hey, you still won the game, and you still feel good about it. But George Kittle, a 13-yard touchdown with 2:59 to go in the fourth quarter, make it a 42-26 game. Really, this is a 42-20 game. Really, the Rams won by 22 points on the road against San Francisco. And that 13 personnel, like I talked about, is the first big takeaway. The first major takeaway is that the same dude who revolutionized 11 personnel, 3 receivers, the same guy who had so much success in that era, Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods, you name it, Cooper Kupp, OBJ coming in 2021, Sammy Watkins, you name it. The guy who made his reputation in this league with 11 personnel, I can tell you from sources, has wanted 13 personnel and 12 personnel. He just didn't have the personnel. And now he does. 4 tight ends had catches today, and they all do things uniquely different. Tyler Higbee, you can get him to block. He can get you first downs. Colby Parkinson, nice red zone threat. Davis Allen, red zone threat, big body. Terrence Ferguson, stretch the field on a seam route, on a fade route. And against the 49ers, the Rams used 13 personnel on 30 of 67 snaps. That's the second highest rate by any team in a game since 2016. And out of 13 personnel, you have a 6.7 yards per play success rate. I mean, we're talking about a absolute game changer for this Rams team, because the Rams now, they really spread around. We saw Stafford go to 10 receivers a few weeks back in Jacksonville. Today, the Rams had 8 players catch at least one ball. And yes, you're still going to lean very heavily on Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua, but it makes it very difficult for opposing defenses to really line up against this team, to try to stop these guys. It's just very difficult because when you're in 13 personnel, one running back, 3 tight ends, and 1 wide receiver on the field, there's a lot of physicality. It gives Matthew Stafford some weapons and things to work with. And I kind of think what it's doing here with these sets is, one, you have 4 tight ends who can catch the ball, and they all have different playing styles. So that keeps the defense on their toes, not knowing what they're to get from each individual tight end. But when they get down to the red zone, the tight ends open up Devontae Adams, and it almost feels like a cheat code. It's like, okay, you want to double Tay? Fine, run it in. One-on-one on Tay? Fine, he catches it. And then when you look at earlier in the drives, that's when you can take advantage with guys like Ferguson, who's already broken out. He missed a catch, and then Stafford went right back to him and got involved again. So getting multiple tight end sets has just been a game changer. It forces teams into a style of defense that they don't want to be forced into. And just look at Saleh. Look at him. They cut to him, and he had no answers. He had no answers in this one because the Rams offense is so dynamic. You just don't know how to stop it. When Matthew Stafford has protection, he got sacked just one time today. Well, this team, it looks like they have an unstoppable offense. And just like McVay had the cheat code a few years back, 11 personnel, well, the evolution is 13 personnel. And it's exciting stuff. I mean, Saleh was in a mental blender in this one because there's not enough tape to try to stop them. And even if you try to focus on them, they've got 2 tier 1 receivers to go to with a Hall of Fame quarterback playing at MVP level. And then the running game with Corum and Kyren Williams, that 1-2 punch. I mean, this has the potential to be the best Rams offense that we've seen in a long, long time. And coming up next, some more from this one. Man, bang, bang, Niner gang. Bang, bang, Escalator gang if it was in SoFi. But they went up there and they took care of business at Levi's. And, we know that this is a Rams team that they're looking at a real showdown next week against the Seahawks. And I'm going to tell you why this Rams team did more stuff today to lead you to believe that this team is a legitimate Super Bowl contender and really should be in the conversation on that short list of teams that you need to be talking about when it comes to teams that you believe can raise that Lombardi trophy. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
Today's show is brought to you by our friends over there at Peloton. Look, folks, it's time to break through the busiest time of the year with a brand new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus that's powered by Peloton IQ. It's Peloton's most elevated technology and equipment yet that gives you real-time guidance, and it gives you endless ways to move, whether you want to work out by yourself or if you want to work out with your favorite instructor, like my personal favorite, Alex Toussaint. He always gets me fired up to tackle the day. And the thing I like about Peloton, it helps me achieve more in less times. They have features that help you plan, stay motivated, track your progress, and Peloton IQ also provides personalized workout plans and recommendations. That's something that I use right now during the busiest time of the year covering the NFL. They plan my workouts for me based on my mood, my vibe, and also my favorite instructors. So make sure you check it out and use it because it also helps you correct your form in real time, and it maximizes your reps. It counts your reps so that you can do it smarter, safer, and more efficient. Let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
If you're a business owner, here's the truth. SaaS promised to make work easier, but now the average company is buried by hundreds of apps that slow down your teams and simply don't work together. That's not SaaS, that's sad. Software as a disservice, that's why you need Rippling. Rippling is the unified platform for global HR, payroll, IT, and finance all in one place. They've helped millions of businesses replace a mess of disconnected tools with one system designed to give leaders clarity, speed, and control. By uniting your employees, teams, and departments in one system, Rippling removes the bottlenecks, busy work, and silos your software created. Everything from onboarding to payroll to IT access runs automatically and perfectly in one sync. It's seriously simple to use and gives companies one source of truth for their people, data, and everything they touch. Whether you want to run your entire HR, IT, or finance operations as one, or just fill the gaps in your software stack, Rippling can do it all. And right now, you can get 6 months free when you go to rippling.com/LockedOnNFL. Learn more at rippling.com/LockedOnNFL. That's rippling.com/LockedOnNFL for 6 months free. Terms and conditions apply. And we are off and running here on Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Also, a big shout out to those everyday listeners out there watching, listening to every single episode of Locked On Rams. Cannot thank you enough. Appreciate the new viewers, new listeners. This team looks like they have the potential to go on a deep run and win another Super Bowl. So, hey, baseball's over. The NBA started, but hey, it's time to lock into your Rams if you have not already. Okay, here in our second segment, more takeaways. We have to talk about the running back tandem really quick because this was a running backs room that you're thinking, okay, is Corum going to be that guy? Kyren Williams, of course, we know he is the guy, but you had some below average weeks consecutively, and today we saw the running game like they're supposed to be, and that is guys that feed off each other, guys that can block well, can hit the hole, can play an aggressive physical style, and you had an even split in this one. I mean, you had Kyren Williams, you carried it 14 times for 73 yards. Blake Corum, he carried it 13 times for 56 yards. They combined to average 4.8 yards per carry and scored 2 touchdowns. And the Rams are doing a couple things with this. They're keeping Kyren Williams fresh for this stretch run in the playoffs, and they are developing Blake Corum, which is very important. And then also, you are giving defenses different looks. That is so important. Different looks. Can you scheme differently? Can you open guys up? Can you play to the strengths? That is kind of what this is about. And it's good to see Blake Corum, who there was a play where he just got stonewalled and ran into Rob Havenstein. But it's good to see Blake Corum having success and them leaning on 2 different guys because we know Kyren can get injured at times and we know what they're playing for. And Kyren just looks more fresh out there. He just really, really does. He looks more fresh. He looks like he has an extra burst, an extra gear because he knows that, hey, this is a 2-man game. And I know that I'm the top dog and there's no ego there. He knows this is his backfield, but he is there to help him. Blake Corum is, and it's great to see a positive in the run game. And if you could guarantee me 4.8 yards per carry, which I know that has a potential to be even better, I could see them going over 5 for sure. But even guarantee me that with the passing game and Matthew Stafford playing like that, it's going to be an elite offense. I mean, that's just truly what they're going to be. Now, another thing, too, is let's talk about the defense a little bit. Wasn't a great day for Cameron Curl. He definitely gave up some big yards to George Kittle. Nate Landman gave some yards to George Kittle. And look, it's the good thing that the Rams defense kind of had this bend but don't break style. Will this work against elite offenses? Probably not. You need to play better against better teams. But I do think considering how good the offense was today and how bad the 49ers defense was at times, it was enough. But it is something to look at. I mean, there is... I mean, Nate Landman now, though, and what can you say about Nate Landman? He forced another fumble. He has 9 forced fumbles in the last 3 years. That leads the National Football League. So 9 for Nate Landman. That's very impressive. Having said that, though, I don't want to throw cold water on your we beat San Francisco parade because that's awesome. But, yeah, I mean, in coverage, that looks like an area where he can be exploited just a little bit. He struggled a little bit last week too, but Kyle Shanahan has always been really good at scheming against linebackers and getting tight ends open. I do think that maybe teams are kind of like Landman doesn't sneak up on anyone anymore. And when that's the case, teams are going to know how to try to exploit your weaknesses. And sure, that is a weakness, but man, I mean, that peanut punch that forced the fumble, that was big time. And then Curl, it wasn't his greatest day either. You look at he giving up a couple receptions. He allowed a couple touchdowns in coverage today. He wasn't the best showing by the defense, but I think that there's a lot more there. I really do. I think when you look at the tight ends playing today, George Kittle caught 9 passes for 84 yards and a touchdown. So 84 yards for George Kittle, and Luke Farrell, 18 yards and a touchdown. And if you go back and look at those plays, Cam Curl, he was the dude who was lined up against those tight ends today. So, yeah, I think that also is going to come down to Chris Shula putting him in better positions to be optimized. But, hey, like I said, I hope you guys listen to the show and watch the show, because it's not just the, hey, we're going to sunshine and rainbows, everything about the Rams for 30 minutes. I mean, it's definitely some critical stuff, and there's no real perfect wins, really. So I think that's kind of where we're at on that one. But there was a lot of positives in the defense, too. Emmanuel Forbes, last couple of weeks, he's had his 2 best games, and he was a first-round pick for a reason. That's because he has very tantalizing and intriguing and compelling potential, and he was benched. Let's call it what it is. He was benched for Darius Williams before the bye week, and then Williams did not play week 9, and Forbes, he gets back in there, and he makes the most of his opportunity. So give him a lot of credit. The best play for him in this one was on that 4th and 4. It was a 35-20 game, 8:36 left. The pocket collapses on Mac Jones, and Emmanuel Forbes, he intercepts it on 4th down, and that essentially ended the comeback for the 49ers. So great to see him build some confidence. Tyler Davis and Braden Fisk had really good days. The defense as a group, if you were going to list out 3 things that you wanted to see them do in this one, at the top of that list, 1 or 2 would have been neutralizing and slowing down Christian McCaffrey. And McCaffrey, he was held to 30 yards on 13 carries and a 2.5 yard average on the ground. He had his catches in the receiving game, still less than 100, but he didn't impact or take over this game. And that says a lot about the improvement in that area for the Rams. The addition of Poona Ford has been big in that aspect. So that's definitely very promising. There's a lot of pluses for the defense in this one. Roger McCreary, 2 weeks ago, the Rams traded for him, and we still haven't seen him on defense. So I've been looking out for Roger McCreary. When are we going to see Roger McCreary? And at this point, did they trade for him to be a depth piece? We'll see. But that's another thing to kind of wonder about. I mean, if Darius Williams comes back and he plays like he was playing, and Emmanuel Forbes, the way he's playing right now, maybe that was just a pure depth piece. So, yeah, there's another area of the Rams that I want to give them to and give them their flowers and spotlight them too. And an area that deserves a lot of the credit for Matthew Stafford and this Rams team's success. And Matthew Stafford, I'm putting it out there, and you guys know we've been on this for months, way before the national media has jumped on the bandwagon. But I got to say, I was the conductor of that bandwagon. Matthew Stafford winning his first MVP at 37 and leading this Rams team this year is a very real possibility, and it got that much more real today. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. A reminder that today's episode of Locked On Rams is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Let's get into the third segment, and let's talk about the offensive line, and then we'll talk some Stafford, because the offensive line, they just look healthier. And early on this season, you were starting to have some concerns about Rob Havenstein working his way through some ankle injuries. Kevin Dotson, K-Dot, working his way through ankle injuries. Steve Avila, he missed time as well. Now you're seeing that core group on the field at the same time, and they look like they're galvanizing. You're seeing the chemistry building, the cohesion has been there. And Dotson, K-Dot, he was just building those running lanes. That's his strength, is in the run game. And today he did that. Alaric Jackson, Avila also did a nice job on the left side, building some run lanes too. Kyron, 14 rushes for 73 yards, a 5.2 average, 2 touchdowns like we talked about. Corum, 13 for 56, a 4.3 yards average. The efficiency is there for the running game. And then Matthew Stafford, that jersey has been clean. Might as well have just picked that thing up from the Rams official team shop or Lids or Dick's Sporting Goods or wherever you get your jerseys, Fanatics, because that thing's looking clean. He was sacked just one time for 5 yards. And when he gets time, and this has been, I mean, with Nick Bosa out and you're looking like a depleted lineup in San Francisco, if you watch the pre-show, revisiting those keys, one of the keys I said was Matthew Stafford is going to carve because he's going to have time because this is not a very good 49ers defensive line. And turned out I was right. And we saw that once again on display. Now, last thing, we'll talk more about this throughout the week. Matthew Stafford is grooving. Matthew Stafford, he needs to be the front runner. If he is not the front runner to an MVP, then that just means you're East Coast bias and you're not watching the late window games. You're not paying attention to the Rams. Because what Stafford has done, and you include the narrative too, starts the year, the back injuries, and what's going on? Is Stafford cooked and is Stafford injury prone and is he going to make it? Not only is the back okay, he's been the backbone of the Los Angeles Rams in 2025. Today, 24 of 36, 280 yards, 67% completion percentage, 4 touchdowns, all to different receivers, sacked just once. And late in the first half, he missed some throws, almost threw an interception. It wasn't the perfect Matthew Stafford game, but the fact that he continues to put together these performances. I mean, he threw his 400 touchdown. He reached the 400 touchdown plateau. He became the 9th quarterback ever to reach that milestone. He also threw his 401st and 402nd touchdowns in the second half. He has 22 straight touchdown passes without an interception. That's the second longest streak in NFL history. Only Tom Brady, the GOAT, had more, 26 in 2010. Matthew Stafford, I think the big takeaway for me is there's all this talk. Saving the picks, trading out of the first round so we could find Stafford's successor. I just mentioned Tom Brady having success into his 40s. If Matthew Stafford can stay healthy and he plays like this, if he continues his career with another team, you could have to deal with Matthew Stafford, and he could be the reason why you don't win a Super Bowl. That's because if you decide to move on from him, even after next year, when he's 38, 39, 40, look at Aaron Rodgers, look at Tom Brady. If you're incredibly talented and you're a future Hall of Famer and you have that name recognition and you have that Super Bowl pedigree, teams are going to give you opportunities. And if Matthew Stafford wants to continue his career after next season, he will. Teams will sign him. And I just want to leave this here. The Rams, as long as Matthew Stafford wants to continue his career, need to have him as their quarterback because he's that good. He is an all-time arm. He really, really is. He really, really is. Maybe he doesn't have as many Super Bowls as Peyton Manning. Could end up the same as John Elway. I want to see Matthew Stafford on this team for as long as he can play, and the guy still has a lot left in the tank. But that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Rams. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. And until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams house.